Hello. Today is Monday, March 16th. Um, so we're obviously we are going to be out of school for the next couple of weeks. So kind of just have to make do with what we have. Before we get anything else, make sure you guys are staying safe, following the guidelines that are being set. If you have any questions, I have access to my email. Feel free to contact me if you have concerns or confused about something. But we'll kind of have to just make do. We'll have to use our technology and Google Classroom to the best of our abilities. Um, so it is what it is. So again, let me know if there's anything that I can do for you guys to make this process go a little bit easier. All right, so kind of how this is going to work. I'm going to be posting lessons to Google Classroom. Obviously, if you guys are watching this, you're getting it. We were basically almost done with our unit. So what we're going to do with this is that I'm going to kind of go through the lecture that I was going to go through on Friday. It was on the worksheet or on the reading that you guys were doing on Thursday with partners. I'll kind of go through that. I'll lecture about it, talk about the Electoral College. And then I'll post the test. You can use your notes on the test if you would like. And then at least that way we are complete with our unit. So the test will be lesson 2. And then from there we'll go accordingly for some things that you need to complete. So again, just make sure that you guys have your workbooks, your textbooks. I have some textbooks in my room. So, make sure that you guys are, coming down and grabbing your textbook out of your lockers or in my classroom. As well as your workbooks that I pass out to you guys in the beginning part of the year. We're going to start using those. All right. So anyway, here we go. We're going to go to, let's see here. Here we go. Da-da-da-da. All right. Perfect. Let me see. Yeah. All right. Perfect. So we know with that. All right. So we ended with the Electoral College and in your guys' worksheet that you guys were supposed to fill out. And I will scan the book pages for you guys, so you guys can work on that. You can always take a screenshot of your worksheet and just show it to me that way. But probably going forward, I'll probably just make Google Docs for everything. But for now, you can just take a screenshot of your worksheet and just send it to me as an attachment in an email. All right. So one of the things that I want you guys to read about on that Thursday with a partner is that technically how our system works is that voters don't technically directly vote for the president. We guide this group, but technically we don't form the ballot for it. So voters don't directly vote for the president. In a roundabout way, we kind of do, but technically something called the Electoral College. The electors technically cast their ballots for the president. There's 538 of them. So the first 1 to 270, the first candidate in an election to get 270 wins, which 270 is majority. So that's why 538. That's count. So how does that work? You got 435 members of 535 members of Congress. You got 435 in the House, 100 in Senate. That's 535. Plus you get some DC. So that's how that process works. That's where 538 comes from. I think you guys got that in your ed puzzle that you guys had to do last week and in the reading. So again, some other things from the worksheet that I wanted to focus on too, in terms of even before the general election, why presidential candidates focus on their campaigns in certain states. We talk about that. There's certain states that are called swing states, meaning that they have a profound effect in terms of how the election is going to take place. They flip-flop. They don't vote for just one party all the time. So like, for instance, Texas, they always vote Republican. California, Massachusetts, New York typically always vote Democratic. But you have a lot of those Midwestern states like Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Carolinas, that historically kind of teeter. The polls are really close. So candidates spend a lot of time in those states where they spend a lot of money, they spend a lot of time in campaigning there to try and get the vote. So most of the time when we get into like the debates and campaigning, a lot of times like the minor parties are left out. of the debates. And a lot of times, as we learn, minor parties aren't even on the ballots in some states because the two major political parties, Democrats and Republicans, they're the ones who are making state laws in terms of the elections. So they purposefully leave a lot of the candidates out, the minor candidates out. What is the least amount of electors that each state can have? A state must have at least 3 electors. Now, why? How did I get 3? This is question number 8 on your guys' worksheet. So as I was walking around to some groups, think about Senate and House. Every state must have at least 2 senators. Okay. So where the House, it's based upon population. So like Wyoming, small states like that, where you're guaranteed at least 1 House member. So take 2 plus 1, that would be 3. So that's the amount of electors that each state is guaranteed to at least have. Kind of just going down here. Okay, so anyway, we'll move on. All right, so all states except for 2, Maine and Nebraska, select electors based on the winner of the popular vote in the state. So pretty easy peasy in terms of that. So most states do it like as, the popular vote in the state would be the electors that they receive. Maine and Nebraska do things a little differently, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So kind of hold on to that. Okay, so what happens after November? So the general election, when all of us go vote for a president, is in November. Remember, it's the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Now, what happens after that? So we talk about the Electoral College. They technically vote for the president. So electors meet in state capitol on Monday after the second Wednesday in December. And cast their votes for the president and for vice president. They meet at their state capital. So again, Ohio, we have 18 electors, 16, I'll think about why. We have 16 in the House, 2 in the Senate. So 16 plus 2 is 18. So they'll meet in Columbus on the Wednesday in December. Monday after the second Wednesday in December. And they cast their votes for president and for the vice president. And from there, they seal it up and they send it to the Senate, where the Senate will count the ballots. As we'll talk about here in a minute. So January 6th, the electoral votes cast are counted by the president of the Senate, and the president and vice president are formally elected on January 6th. So again, to recap, in November, all citizens go to the ballot box. We vote for a president. Then you have, in December, you have the electors meet at their state capitals. They formally cast their votes, their ballots for president and vice president. It's sent to the Senate, and on January 6th, it's formally read and where they're counted. Now, if no candidate wins majority of the electoral votes, so 270. So what happens if that happens? The election is thrown into the House of Representatives, so the House would then choose. Now, that has only happened, twice so far in our history, in the 1800 election and in 1824. Where a candidate hasn't won majority. So again, it's very rare. More times than not, it works where a candidate wins the 270. But again, happened twice. So it's actually one of the flaws of the Electoral College system is that you're leaving it up to the House to then decide what would really be up to the people, so to speak. So again, that's if that ever happens again, that's what would happen. It would go to the House of Representatives. They would then choose the president from there. All right, so this is kind of just showcasing you guys, the 2016 election here. So you kind of just seeing, it's more or less just kind of seeing the amount of electors each state has. So 18, so 16 would be in the House, 2 in the Senate. So that'd be 18 for Ohio. Pennsylvania would have 18 House members and 2 in the Senators. 18 plus 2 is 20. So this is very, very telling in terms of Donald Trump, in terms of, what he was able to do. The South, it was no secret. I mean, the South is typically Republican for the most part. As you're kind of seeing, Florida's a swing state. It could kind of go either way. North Carolina's a swing state. Virginia is kind of same thing. Pennsylvania. So you kind of see on some of the states that that Trump was able to win. A lot of these Midwestern states was vital for him. All right. So what are some flaws? Some flaws in the Electoral College system. There's 3 major ones. Okay, so as you guys can see in this past election in 2016, it is possible to win the popular vote but lose the Electoral College vote. So in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by like a million votes, if not more than that. However, Trump won the Electoral College vote. Go back to why. You just count up, go back to the slide, you see all the electors there. He got 270. Pretty simple math there. All right, so that's one major flaw. So people are saying, again, this has only happened 5 times in history. So again, more times than not it works, but you do have those rare exceptions in 2000, 2016, 1888, 76, 1824, where that does happen. 2, nothing in the Constitution nor in the federal statutes requires the electors to vote for the candidates favored by popular vote. So this is done by state law. Most states have it in the books that whoever wins this popular vote in the state, the electors have to vote accordingly. A lot of states have that law. Not all states do. So, for instance, in Ohio, if Donald Trump wins Ohio, all the electors for our state have to vote according to how the people voted. Again, not all states have that. So you're kind of allowing for, rogue electors in some states to cast their votes, but they can ignore the popular vote. Again, rare, but it does happen. You guys read in one of your in your reading, one of your questions that you guys asked. In Minnesota, there was a case of this in 2000 where an elector didn't vote accordingly to how the people wanted to vote. And the third major flaw is if no candidate gains a majority in the Electoral College, the election is thrown to the House. Again, it's only happened twice, but and also in this case, each state is given one vote, meaning that states with smaller populations have the same power as those with larger populations. All right, so there are a couple other things too. So there's some proposals. How can we change the Electoral College? So there's something called the district plan, where electors would be chosen the same way as members of Congress are selected. So you have Ohio broken up into districts. You choose one elector per district, and it's voted upon. You basically same vote as if they were a representative. So Ohio has 16 districts. You'd vote for somebody in your district who would be selected based on the overall popular vote. Again, this is only done in Maine and Nebraska. Maine and Nebraska do this. It kind of holds them more accountable, where these people live in your district, you know them, and you're holding them accountable. The proportional plan. This suggests that each candidate would receive the same share of states' electoral votes. So this is kind of how it's before. Good morning. If Trump wins Ohio and gets 70% of the vote, then he would get 70% of the electors. The other candidate would get 30% of the electors. Right now, most states have winner take all. So this is one way on how to give candidates more share. The problem with this is that it'd be possible at this point to not get 270. So that's one of the things that a lot of this one isn't really caught on in a lot of places. And then this is the one, probably the more popular one, direct popular vote. Whoever wins popular vote wins the election. So basically this point, this last one, is getting rid of the Electoral College and just doing whoever wins popular vote wins the election. All right, so why the Electoral College? What's the point of it? First of all, it's a known process. Each of the proposed but untried reforms may very well have defects that could not be known until they are appeared. So all those proposals I talked about, we don't really know if that's going to work or not, or the flaws and pros of that. In most election years, the Electoral College defines the winner of the presidential election quickly and certainly. So it's usually, state wins, you count up winner take all. It's pretty simple. And this also makes the two-party system intact of traditional of what we already have. All right. So anyway, that's the notes lecture. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me an email. Adios. Stay tuned to Google Classroom for all current stuff.